What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here for my preview of the Miami Dolphins versus Buffalo Bills game coming up on Sunday. I'm going to give you, the stats from our previous games. I'm going to give you our league standings statistically and where we rank so far after just one game, etc., etc. I'll give you guys the injury report, talk about that. And I'm going to make a couple other quick side notes along the way as well. To start with, I want to just mention a couple quick things about the Jets because that's who the Bills played. Obviously, this video is not about them, but I do have tons of comments about them and the situation and so on and so forth. But there's just a couple things I want to mention just kind of off the top, and that is, look, I think that Sam Darnold and Le'Veon Bell, I think both of their days are numbered in New York. I think Gase is probably going to get rid of Bell sooner rather than later. Same thing with Darnold. Personally, they do have, definitely some issues that they need to work on or whatever. This is Gase's second season, and a lot of the problems that they had last year, certainly predated Gase. So, my general philosophy for a coaching staff is they should be given 5 years. I liked the draft that he had from this year. I think that he should be given that amount of time to see what he can do. But my guess is he's probably going to be looking for a new quarterback soon. They will likely end up drafting somewhere, toward the top of the draft. Although I do think that overall they're going to end up being third in our division, whatever. So anyway, like I said, I'll get into some more side notes, a couple other little side notes maybe along the way. But let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of what this video is actually about. Because, we have a game coming up. Also, I didn't realize right away, but we actually have a short turnaround too after this because we're apparently going to be playing on Thursday Night Football the following week to start out week 3. So, and we'll be playing the Jags on Thursday Night Football. So that's going to be interesting. The Jags actually had a really good game this past week too. So, and they're looking like they could, maybe do some stuff. Anyway, so we'll get into that when we get there. For now, let's talk about this Dolphins-Bills game. Let's go ahead and start off with our records. Obviously, the Dolphins are 0-1. We lost to the Patriots last week. The Bills are 1-0. They beat the Jets last week. As far as our league standings, obviously it is just 1 week. So, this is obviously not even close to what the end picture is going to be. But there is definitely some stuff that you can preen from it to get an idea of where the teams are at. And there is definitely some interesting stuff in here. So let's look first offensively. For points per game, the Dolphins, we only scored 11. As it stands right now, that is 32nd in the league, so last in the league after one game. There's a couple teams, that have 2 games under their belt because of Thursday night. But most teams have played just one. But we are still, even with those 2 games that those couple teams played from the Thursday night games, we are still 32nd. The Bills scored 27 in their first game, so that ranks them 9th currently. Yards per game overall, offensively, we had 269 yards. And that ranks us 28th. The Bills had 404, which ranks them 6th. So clearly already, just from the first game, their offense is already looking significantly better than what ours is, just based off of that first sample size of that first game in these league statistics. Now, again, it's going to look way different, likely to look way different once the year's over and you actually have all the games under, teams' belts, but this is just after the first. Passing yards, we had 182, which ranks us 28th in the league. The Bills had 306, which ranks them 4th in the league. We had 87 rush yards, which puts us at 24th in the league. They had 98, which puts them at 20th. So we were both, around there. Neither of us broke 100. I think that's going to change a little bit. We'll see how this game plays out. I think Josh Allen's probably going to run all over us just like Cam Newton did, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, defensively, we allowed 21 points in our pass game, which puts us at 14th in the league, which isn't bad. Puts us right there in the middle of the pack, right? They allowed 17, which puts them at 7th in the league. Yards allowed, we gave up 357, which puts us at 13th, which is not terrible. They gave up 254, which puts them at 3rd. Still beating us there, though, in the first two standings defensively. Passing yards allowed, we gave up only 140, which actually ranks us 1st in the league. They gave up 202, which ranks them 8th, so they're not that far behind us. But we are 1st, in the league after just the first game, so that's good. But then, here's an interesting note here in the standings. When you get to rush yards allowed, okay, we gave up 217, which ranks us last in the league. So you can see there, that's probably why the Patriots didn't have to throw the ball as much, because they just ran it down our throats. And so Raekwon McMillan, his lack of presence there was felt pretty early in the season. Let's see how that continues to go, or if that continues to go, or if they're able to, shore that up. That's going to be something key to keep an eye on. Anyway. And then, so the Bills gave up 52 yards, which ranks them 7th. So if you look, not only are they in passing yards, rush yards, and yards allowed, and points allowed, overall, all of those standings, they are in the top 10. But they're a bit more balanced when it comes to like pass yards and rush yards, right? So like, if you just... Right, there will be some people out there, some fans and analysts will just look at that pass yards allowed and be like, oh my God, we're 1st in the league. We only gave up 140 yards. Okay, but you can't stop there. You have to give the other context. We also gave up 217 yards on the ground, which ranks us 32nd. So you do have to understand that. It is important because that's the full context. All right, anyway. So let's get to the previous game and get a little bit more in depth here. We had 269 total yards. They had 404, as we already know. 182 passing yards for us, 306 for them. 87 rush yards for us, 98 for them. 4.6 yards per play for us versus their 5 yards per play. We didn't have any fumbles. They did have 2. Both of their fumbles were on Josh Allen. And it really just comes down to him keeping a hold of the ball, like protecting it, make sure he puts both hands on it. Like, his fumbles were silly. He's still a young quarterback. That's something he's going to need to learn, especially considering he's pretty good at using his legs, and he's going to need to at some point, right? So he's got to work on that. Anyway, he gave up 2 fumbles. It is what it is, but he didn't throw any interceptions. They didn't throw any interceptions. We threw 3. We were 36% conversion rate on 3rd down. They were 50. Obviously, way better there. We had the ball for 25 minutes and 11 seconds. They had it for 41-17. I don't think it's going to be that... there's going to be that much of a disparity in this game. I think the time of possession will likely be relatively even. I don't know, though, because we'll have to see. I mean, we'll get into the actual analysis of the game and what I think is going to happen in a minute. We had 4 penalties. They had 7. Ryan Fitzpatrick was 20 for 30, 66.7 completion percentage, 191 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a 44.6 passer rating. Josh Allen was 33 for 46, a 71.7% completion percentage for 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, 104.6 passer rating. Rushing, Myles Gaskin obviously led the way for us, 9 rushes, 40 yards, and a 4.4 average. Matt Breida, 5 for 22 and a 4.4. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 5 of 18, 418, 3.6. Jordan Howard, 8 for 7, 1 touchdown, and a 0.9 average. Josh Allen had 14 rushing attempts for 57 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 4.1 average. Devin Singletary, 9 for 30 and a 3.3 average. Zach Moss, 9 for 11 and a 1.2 average. Receiving, Devontae Parker was 4 of 4 for 47. Preston Williams, 2 of 7 for 41. Mike Gesicki, 3 of 5 for 30. Myles Gaskin, 4 of 4 for 26. Jakeem Grant, 3 of 4 for 25. Isaiah Ford, 2 of 4 for 13. Stephon Diggs was 8 of 9 for 86. John Brown was 6 of 10 for 70 and a touchdown. Cole Beasley 4 of 7 for 58. Dawson Knox 3 of 2 for 26. Devin Singletary 5 of 7 for 23. Obviously, Josh Allen spread the ball around quite a bit. Isaiah McKenzie 3 of 3 for 17. Zach Moss 3 of 4 for 16 and a score. Gabriel Davis 2 for 2 for 16 yards. Defensively, we were actually pretty even overall. Overall, defensively, we had 2 sacks to their 3. We had 6 tackles for loss. So did they. We both had a forced fumble. We did not get a recovery, but they did. They had 1 interception. We did not have any, and we both had 3 passes defense. So they edged us out a little bit there in the defensive statistics. But when you really look at the play, though, when you actually watch the game, and I did, when you watch both games, it wasn't really that close. So it's going to be interesting. Real quick, I forgot to give it earlier. I usually give the injury report before I give all the statistics. And then I give the stats, and then I give the analysis. So real quick, the Bills are actually going to be out of linebackers. They're going to be missing some pretty important linebackers. So that's going to be a key for this game for the Dolphins if they're going to be able to exploit that in the passing game. So you would like to see people like Mike Gesicki get more involved down the seam, right? Tight ends down the seam, maybe running backs in the middle, whatever, or slant routes, whatever, for the receivers. Because they're going to be out, they're going to be missing Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds and Del'Shawn Phillips. Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano are huge. Those guys are listed as out. They don't have anybody as questionable. Will play on their will play list. They have defensive end Jerry Hughes, wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie, defensive tackle Vernon Butler, wide receiver John Brown, linebacker Tyrell Dodson, and quarterback Jake Fromm, who's in quarantine apparently. That's the reason they have him, but he will play. Anyway, whatever. So, just real quick on that, because, and it applies to them, it applies to everybody. Obviously, these players will be playing, but they do have injuries that they will be playing through, so they're not expected to be at 100%. For the Dolphins, we have 1 player listed as out, and that's linebacker Landon Roberts, because he's in the concussion protocol. Devontae Parker, Flores said he's going to be a game time decision. He's listed as questionable with a hamstring and will play. We have linebacker Kyle Van Noy, wide receiver Preston Williams, wide receiver Jakeem Grant, cornerback Xavier Howard, and cornerback Byron Jones. So, and that's like pretty much our entire team. Like all the good players for sure are injured for us. I mean, you know, Landon Roberts is out. Devontae Parker might not play. And Kyle Van Noy is a hand issue. Preston Williams a knee. Jakeem Grant a calf. Xavier Howard a knee. And Byron Jones an ankle. So, and, you know, for those positions, wide receivers and cornerbacks to have lower leg injuries obviously is a massive, massive issue. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. We'll have to keep an eye out for that and see what happens there. You know, see how those injuries progress, if they're able to play through it or if they re-aggravate it. In Devontae Parker's case, if he's even going to make the game, you know, whatever. So, you know, real quick, let's just, for the analysis, you know, I think that overall, what's likely to end up happening is I think that the Bills are going to end up winning. I mean, there's definitely going to be some keys. They are going to be missing some players, but their defense is definitely better than ours, certainly overall. I mean, we, on paper, definitely have a good secondary, and certainly with the passing yards we gave up, obviously that comes with the big caveat of the running yards that we gave up, the rush yards, but we do have a solid secondary. But then when you consider Byron Jones has an ankle issue, Xavier Howard has a knee issue, there are some concerns there. And they do have a good passing attack. They do have a good running attack. They're definitely better than us overall on offense. They're definitely an overall better team. You know, but I mean, look, honestly, for this season, right, like last season, my biggest key points were, you know, are they able to win? Yes or no. Are they competitive or not? Yes or no. Go into details. Check the injuries, you know, so on and so forth, right? Watch those kinds of things. Keep an eye on that stuff. This year, I'm going to that's part of my focus, but I am going to get a little bit more specific. So, but the general point for me this year is they need to get things back to, they need to get some kind of a balance, right? So, in other words, for example, right, we're first defensively in the league in pass yards allowed at the 140, but we gave up 217 rush yards. So we got to get, right now though, offensively, our pretty much all of our statistics are in the middle of the pack. So if we can stay there offensively, and defensively, if we can get to at least the middle of the pack, then maybe we can, you know, put together, you know, some good games and, you know, maybe get some wins, maybe even try and push the ceiling. I personally think the Dolphins' ceiling this year is 5-6 wins tops, absolute tops. I unfortunately think that we're going to end up in last in the division. I think the Jets are going to edge us out by a few games. I think the Bills are going to take the division. I think it's going to be Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. As far as this game goes, look, I mean, we got to be able to stop the run and contain Josh Allen. I do have concerns there. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that. And they got tons of weapons. So, I mean, you know, we got to stop the run first and foremost, so that way we can at least try and make them a little bit more one-dimensional, and then see if our secondary is really as good as, you know, they appear to be on paper, right? So stop the run, force them to be a little bit more one-dimensional, and then allow that secondary to attack the way that they're, you know, designed, expected, etc., etc. Offensively, I mean, the offensive line last game definitely played better than I expected, especially coming out of the gate. So again, offensively, they need to maintain, you know, some balance, right? They need to be able to run the game. They need to be able to run the ball, which they definitely need to improve on. They were all right in the pass game. Still need to get better. Fitzpatrick obviously can't throw 3 interceptions. So they definitely need to be a lot better in the turnover battle. They were all right on penalties, even though a couple of them were definitely costly. So overall, they need to focus on playing a clean game and just improving on what they did from last week. That's really the big thing here. Unfortunately, though, I do think that they are going to lose the game. I mean, I think they're just going to be way outmatched against the Bills. Score, I mean, it's tough to say. I think early on, the Bills are not going to be as high-powered as they will likely be towards the end of the season. We are playing at home. I'm not sure how much of an advantage that's going to be materially. Let's say, I don't know, 24-17 Bills. We'll keep it, you know, maybe close. But I think they'll ultimately come away with the win. That's what I got. 24-17. I hope it's that close. Hopefully we can surprise and get a W. But realistically, I think that's probably somewhere about where it's going to be, just based off of, you know, what we saw from both teams in week 1. Again, hopefully they surprise and hopefully they do better. We will have to see, but not much longer because tomorrow is the game. And so to wrap this up, I will be doing a live stream. It's going to be 10 in the morning for me, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, whatever in between, depending on where you live. Anyway, make sure you join me for that. I will be doing a live stream, a reaction video. Obviously, I cannot show the game, but I will be doing a reaction video of it live. So join me for that. Should be interesting, should be fun. And we'll see how it turns out. Alright, with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspectives and enjoyed my videos. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. See y'all soon. Fins up.